Guys, this was a very short journey of Aussizz from 2009 onwards till date, and we have grown drastically when it comes to our qualified Maras and qualified counselors, along with the various products and a very innovative technology which we use as well to help all of you. Today's session is about partner visa. So we have Ms. Fathima Faizer, who's a registered migration agent with Aussizz Group Brisbane, with a very great the potential that makes a difference in their journey to settling.
Probably, I think you may need to repeat
Yes, me.
yourself. Can you please talk a bit slower? I think your voice
Sure.
is breaking up. Thanks.
Sorry about the technical faults, guys. I would like to introduce our Mara with you, Miss Fatima Faizer, who is a registered Mara with our Aussizz Brisbane. She has a very great experience when it comes to immigration and management roles. Can you hear me, everybody? I'm sorry if there's a technical glitch.
Yes, I can hear you now. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Neil. She is a very organized and a skilled worker, and she believes in empowering the potential migrants with the right guidance and information that would make a difference in their journey to settle in Australia. She has helped a lot of migrants over here, and she has the hack of handling for working through a complex situation and different clientele. Ms. Fatima Faizer has helped a lot of clients, and we are happy to help you now as well. Fatima, can you please share your PPT? Guys, while the PPT is being shared, please note any questions, drop them in the chat box, and Ms. Fatima will take that towards the end of the session. And please do pour in your questions. We are more than happy to answer all of them.
Hello. Like Akshdeep said, I'm Fathima Faizer. I am a registered migration agent and I work for Aussizz Group in Brisbane. So we'll just go through partner visas. So there's a few different visas that come under the partner visa umbrella. So the subclasses to look at the 300, the 309 and 100, and the 820 and 801. These are the different small ones that come in the same under partner visas. So just to go into a little bit of a brief explanation to focus on the 309, 100 and the 820 and 801. So these are the partner visas that are actually called partner visas. The 300 is a prospective marriage visa. So with these ones, it is designed for those sponsored by a spouse or a common law partner who is either an Australian citizen or permanent resident, and also some eligible New Zealand citizens. Briefly, this visa allows you to settle in Australia permanently, so it takes you on the journey towards Australian citizenship. One of the major things that we always get asked is, will my visa be granted? The only thing that with partner visas that we really have to prove is that you are in a genuine and an ongoing relationship. That is the major thing with partner visas. So just to break it down a little bit. So partner visas come in two categories. So there's the onshore applications and then there's the offshore applications. So first to go over the onshore ones, that's the 820 and the 801 applications. So it's a two-stage process. It might seem a bit pricey because it's at the moment it's around the 7,000 mark just for the application fee. However, remember you're paying for both the applications at the same time. So you're paying for that temporary 820 and also the permanent 801. You will be doing the application itself in two stages, but you pay that amount at the beginning when you do the 820. So it's not a double up there. So you apply for the 820. You're already in a married or a de facto relationship with someone who's an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, and you're living with them in Australia. So all easy, you just apply for the 820 and then you get the 820 granted. I mean, after you apply correctly and make a valid application and provide all the documents. So once the 820 is granted, you continue to be in a long-term and genuine relationship. You can live here, you can work here on your 820, and then you'll be eligible to apply for the 801, which is the permanent visa, 2 years after you make your initial temporary application. So 2 years on, we give them more documents. We do the second stage of the application and prove that your relationship has been genuine and ongoing since your temporary visa was granted, and there's no application fee this time around, so that's a good thing. And then you lodge the 801 and then you get it granted. So that's the simple breakdown of the 820 to 801 journey. So a bit more specific criteria for the 820, like I said, you have to be in Australia. It's an on-show application. Need to be in a married or a de facto relationship. So married doesn't really have a time frame. You don't need to have been married for a week or a day or 2 years or nothing like that. You just need to be married, and the marriage needs to be valid under Australian law. So say, for example, you had a destination wedding, or you had a impromptu wedding when you decided to get married in Vegas or something, but it needs to be an authorized marriage. So you need to have some sort of registration from wherever you're married, and it needs to be a valid marriage under common law, basically. So that's the thing with married couples. For de facto partners, there is a length factor that you do need to meet. So you need to have been living together for about 12 months. Anything less than that, there are little ways that you don't have to meet it. So if you have been only living together for 10 months and you really want to apply for it, that's fine. There are some provisions there. So for instance, if you have registered your relationship in certain states, that allows you to bypass that 12-month requirement. And then also another important thing is your married relationship or your de facto relationship can be with either a same sex or opposite sex person. That does not matter. And there are some other things. So people always ask us if they're in a de facto relationship but have had to live apart. For some reasons, can they still apply? Then yes, you can. So basically, if the reasons are genuine, like for instance, if you both live apart because of work reasons or because of medical reasons, like someone has to get treatment done. So those kind of provisions we can put forward to say that, you are in a de facto relationship, but you haven't lived together the whole period because of this reason. So that does happen. That does happen. So for the offshore of the partner visa is basically the journey from 309 to 100. So this is like the offshore counterpart of the 820 and 801, basically. So again, you apply, you're in a married relationship or in a relationship with an Australian citizen or permanent resident, and you apply for the 309 with all the right documents. You have your partner who's going to be your sponsor. You do all the right documents, you apply for the visa, you get the 309 granted, you're able to come to Australia and live here and work here and study here if you want to. And 2 years after the application for the initial temporary visa, you'll be eligible for the permanent 100 application. You just need to show that your relationship has been genuine and ongoing since the grant of your temporary visa. So fill that gap in and then off you go. So basically exactly the same as the 820, just the offshore counterpart of that. Some specific criteria that you must be outside of Australia. You need to have an eligible sponsor. Again, you can be in a same-sex or opposite-sex relationship. That is fine. Again, married couples, you need to be married under Australian law or common law. So this is the other one. This comes under partner visas, but it has its own name. It's a prospective marriage visa. Subclass 300. For this particular visa, you do have to be offshore because it's you're hoping to come to Australia to marry your partner or your spouse or intended spouse. You have to be 18 years or over, and you have to intend to marry your spouse while you're in Australia. So Once you are granted this visa, you get given 9 to 15 months within which to you can live here. It's granted for about 9 to 15 months, and within that period, you do need to get validly married in Australia. So this one has a bit of a 3-step process. So you apply for the 300 while you're offshore. You show that you are intending to marry your genuine and continuing your spouse who you're in a genuine and a continuing relationship with. And your 300 is granted because you did everything right, and you're able to come into Australia and live here, and you get that 9 to 15 or 9 to 12 months within which to marry. That amount of time that you get, that will be specified in your visa grant notice. So you get married, and then you are able to apply for the 820. So with this one, the amount that you pay is around similar to the partner visa, like I explained before. However, you pay that hefty $7,000 something at the prospective marriage stage. And then when you get to the 820, you only pay around $1,200. These are all approximates. These go up and down, mostly up, but these do differ, and when the department decides to change the visa pricing. And but when it comes to the 801, again, you don't have to pay any more application fee. So you pay that big amount at the prospective marriage stage in this pathway. So you apply for the 820, and after the 820 is lodged 2 years after, if you get the 820, then you'll be able to lodge for the 801 permanent visa. So sometimes it can be a little bit daunting because partner visa, they ask for quite a lot of documents, and that is honestly because this is a permanent visa. They're giving you permanent residency, which allows you to later get citizenship. So that's why sometimes the documents that they ask, so some of the most important documents like the Form 80 and stuff, they can be quite intense, asking for a lot of information that makes you sit and think, oh my God, where was I at this time? Blah blah blah. You know, it's a bit daunting. Another really important document is the Form AAAs. They are witness statements, basically attesting to your relationship. If usually it's to be done by an Australian citizen or a permanent resident and attested at a JP or anyone listed in that form. But if someone overseas is doing it, then obviously that doesn't apply. It can be, they don't have to be Australian citizens or residents, and they do have to get notarized from whichever country, from a qualified person who is able to do the notarization. So there's with partner visas, we especially have a very extensive list of documents that we require, and that is to make your case as strong as possible. And we help you, in every step of the way, basically, giving the right documents and is important in minimizing how many requests of information that you get from the department. If they have to keep coming back and asking us for more information, that really does lengthen the process. That's already quite lengthy. So let's just go over some complex situations that we might have, just looking at the time. So if let's say you're married or in a de facto relationship, but you're not living together, like I mentioned before, there are provisions to get around that. Like I said, if it's for compassion, like if it's a valid reason, we just need to say, or we just need to be able to prove that the reason you're not physically living together is because of work or of medical reasons or anything like that. It has to be something genuine, and we need to be able to prove that. And again, de facto relationship not meeting the 12-month length requirement. You can get registered. You can get registered as a de facto couple, civil relationship. In some states, that does allow you to not needing to live together for 12 months. That does depend. So if you needed more information on that, it's better to have a consultation, and then we'll be able to give you more precise information for your situation. What if you're in like a really long-term relationship with an Australian citizen or permanent resident, like 10 years? What is it? How does it work in your case? So really long relationships, we kind of try to bypass those little steps and try to ask for the permanent residency in the first instance. And there are cases where that is granted, depending on how long you've been together and if you can prove that it has been a genuine relationship for all that time. What if you, this is another thing that we get asked is, I've been married before, I've been engaged before, I've been in a de facto relationship with someone else before, does that affect you? No, if you've been in other relationships and, you know, they're over relationships, humans, you're allowed to marry or be in a relationship with whoever you want to. So if you have had previous partners, that doesn't necessarily stop you from applying for a partner visa with a new partner. That's the easy answer, but again, it does depend case by case. So if you had a more complex situation and needed streamlined answers, that would require a face-to-face or a more private consultation. So that's sort of all the basics that I wanted to go over. I'll open it to questions now.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing session indeed. And especially the complex cases that you took. They are real-time cases, guys, which Fatima has undertaken. And that provides a pretty insight on how the applications can be processed or how your case can be assessed. Fatima, we do have a question from Kate that what is the approximate time for the visa grant period to get the visa?
Okay, I'm assuming you're asking for the first stage. To be honest, it does differ. The department is constantly changing the processing times. Currently, I think it's sitting between 21 to 26 months if it's onshore, and if it's offshore, it's a little bit different. That is something that we cannot tell you how long it would take, because that is totally up to the department. At any given time, I can look it up and tell you, okay, this is what it says on the website, but there's no guarantee that it'll stay like that by the time you apply or anyone else, you know, who applies, or it changes. It's constantly changing.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Hope we answered your question. We are getting pretty interesting questions, Fatima. This is a question by Srishti. Now, Srishti wants to know, is there any particular marriage visa for onshore applicants?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Is there any particular marriage visa for onshore applicants?
If you're onshore and if you're married already, then you just apply for the 820. But there's no such thing as a marriage visa. There's no prospective marriage visa for onshore applicants because you're already onshore. You can just get married or on de facto basis apply for a 820.
Thank you so much, Fatima. There's another question by Serena. Please share your views on online marriage. As in COVID, we can travel, but are in relationship since 2 years.
So sorry, the line is not clear. So this is, you've been married, but you've gotten married online?
You have been married for over 2 years. However, it's an online marriage, and due to COVID, they cannot travel.
Okay. Yeah, so COVID restrictions and those rules do apply. However, the exemptions are that if you're the spouse of a Australian citizen or a resident, a permanent resident, then you can travel into Australia, given that there are flights available and things. But spouses of Australian citizens and permanent residents can travel. I think that was what the question asked. I wasn't very clear on it.
Yes, Fatma, there's a bit of clarification on it. Serena has confirmed that she's been in relationship, not married yet. So the relationship has been ongoing for 2 years, not yet married. So can they enter, but and they cannot travel? So what are your views on that?
Okay, I think that is a question that we'll have to look into in like it's a very case by case. So that's a very specific question to Serena. So I think you might benefit from making booking a consultation and having a bit of a more conversation with me or someone in our team. Yeah, because that is something that we'll have to look into and get into more detail with you particularly?
Indeed, there are some questions, guys, because before we answer your question, we need to understand your entire case history as well. And there are hundreds of aspects that we need to take into consideration. So we can book a private consultation with Fatima as well. Going forward, Fatima, there are a few questions that I would like to clarify if you have time, please.
Yeah.
So a person has applied for prospective marriage. While it's processing and one gets married, then what happens?
Okay, so let's say, okay, so you've applied for the prospective marriage visa, but then you end up going to Bali or something and then you get married. That's what you're asking. So with that kind of situation, if you've already applied for the prospective marriage, we would request the department to consider it a 309 application. So offshore partner visa instead of a prospective marriage, and we'll just have to give those documents to prove that you've since gotten married. And then ask them to consider it a 309. So that way you don't have to pay that extensive fee again and things like that. So yeah, so that's, I guess, a good thing.
I think that's pretty amazing as well. Before we proceed further, I would like to ask a few more case scenarios. So suppose a person is married and they are adding a dependent who's over 18 years old in a partner visa. How would that work out? And your views on that, please.
Okay, so you can add dependents in your visa, so children from previous marriages or anything, as long as you have custody over them. But you're particularly asking about people over 18. With people over 18, we do have to prove that they are financially completely dependent on you. So that's the major point to prove when it comes to adding an adult, basically, onto your partner visa application as a dependent. So financial dependency, that's the most important thing that we need to prove.
Thank you so much, Fatima. We do had a question from Shrishti. There's just an add up that she's not married as of now, but we don't live together. And how in a way to prove that we are in a genuine relationship, as we have been together for over 3 years and can prove it via pictures and call lists. So they not yet been married, but have been in relationship, but they're not living together. So can they still prove their relationship
Is
based on the
Shrishti
pictures?
is Shrishti in Australia or overseas? Do you know?
It's for the onshore applicants. Yes, they're in
Onshore applicants. So you're not living together. That depends on what the reason is. Why do you choose to not live together? Like I said, that one would come under case by case application. So we'll have to sit and assess why and if we can actually help you with it, if the partner visa is actually the choice for you. So that's something that would need to be discussed in more detail with Shrishti.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Shrishti, we would run consultations with you shortly. Guys, please do note we will not be able to answer a question, but you have contact details of Fatima in this session. So you can send her an email and reach out to her as well to arrange a private consultation with her. Now, moving forward, guys, we do have another sessions coming up. But before we proceed to further sessions, there is a bit about domestic violence that's ongoing in Australia, or people that suffer from domestic violence. Suppose there's a domestic violence while a visa is being processed. What would happen to the application, Fatima?
You can still get a grant while after you applied for the partner visa, and if there's domestic violence involved while it's processing, then yes, you can still get a grant. But then that is something that we'll have to speak to each client on a more personal level and understand your situation. But yes, the short answer is yes, you may get a grant if domestic violence is a factor.
Thank you, Fatima. And there's one more question.
Yeah.
This is my personal question. You have sponsored a person. Please, can you sponsor again?
So you've sponsored.
Suppose you've already sponsored a person.
Yeah.
And can that person sponsor someone else again for the partner visa?
So in your lifetime, you're allowed to sponsor 2 people. Just basic law is that you're allowed to sponsor 2 people. Between two sponsorships, you do need to have a 5-year gap. So from your last lodgement of your last sponsorship, so since you applied for the first time, there needs to be 5 years before you apply for the second one. So yes, you can, but you do need to meet that time factor or meet that time requirement.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Thank you so much, guys, for the lovely session. Please do note we might not have been able to answer all your questions, but you're welcome to join our Q&A session. So the Q&A session is from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. today, and our experts would be waiting to take your questions over there. You can contact Fatima. Her contact details have been shared in your chat box as well. Thank you so much for attending this session. Please do not forget to leave your review for the session, and the link for the review has been shared in the chat box as well. Your feedback is really much appreciated, and we do have ongoing sessions, and we do have upcoming sessions as well. So the next sessions that are there would be state sponsorship for 190 and 491, IELTS and GTI. So please, if you feel free to join the other sessions and do share it among your friends as well. Thank you so much for joining, and please feel free to contact us. Thank you, guys.